Hi, I welcome you back for the second session on the artificial neural network, which is a third module in the machine learning subject. This video is being recorded for the learning management system under the Department of Collegiate and Technical Education. So these are the contents that we are going to check today. The perceptrons, representational power of the perceptrons, the perceptron training rule, and we'll see the illustration on the perceptron training rule, and we'll see how actually the hypothesis space looks. So first we will see the perceptron. So this is a simple the ANN system. Okay, one type of the ANN system. It is based on the unit we call it as the perceptron. Okay, so this is the diagram of the perceptron here. So what this perceptron does is it takes the vector of real valued inputs and calculates the linear combination of these inputs, and then outputs 1 if the result is greater than some threshold and minus 1 otherwise. Okay, so if you see here, that is what is being given. Okay, x1, x2 and x1, they are actually the inputs, and to these inputs, if you see, we have w1, w0, w1, w2 and till wn. They are the weights associated with these inputs. Okay, and this is a perceptron which calculates the summation of this. So if you see here the formula, okay, the summation of I equal to 0 to n wi into xi. Okay, for example, w0 x0 plus w1 x1 plus w2 x2 and so on till w1 x1. It calculates the summation of this. Okay, and if this sum, if it is greater than 1, okay, if it is greater than 0, it outputs 1, and if it is less than 0, it gives you the output as the minus 1 here. So this is what it is given. So now in this case, we say that it compares it with some threshold value. Now in this case, as an example, we have taken the threshold value as 0. Okay, and if you see here, as I said, the inputs x1 through to xn, and the output of O of x1 comma x2 and so on till xn, they are computed by the perceptron. Okay, so this is what is being calculated. Okay, and each wi is actually a real valued constant, and we call it as a weight, which determines the contribution of input xi to the perceptron output. Okay, each input's contribution can be calculated by assigning the weight values. And if you see here the quantity w0, okay, so it is actually a threshold that the weighted combination of inputs, okay, w1 x1 to wn x1, they must surpass in order for the perceptron to output a1. Okay, we call it as the w0 minus, okay, it is w0. So okay, the simplified notation is being given here. Okay, so this is what it is, right? So to simplify this notation, we can imagine the additional constant, that is x0 is equals to 1, which allows us to write the above inequality. So this is the inequality as like this. Okay, or in the vector form, w vector into x vector, which is greater than 0. Okay, so for we can just write this in the vector format, O of x vector equal to sine, okay, of the w vector into x vector. Okay, where sine of y is nothing but it is 1 if y is greater than 0. So this is y, okay, and minus 1 otherwise, right? So this is on simple perceptron. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this. So for each of the inputs, there will be weights associated with them. So they are multiplied and summed with the other the inputs, and the total sum is checked. Okay, so whether if it is greater than 0, it outputs 1, otherwise it outputs the minus 1. So this is an simple perceptron that is going to take. Now let's see the representational power of the perceptrons, because this perceptron they can be actually they can be plotted or they can be viewed on the hyperplane decision surface in the n-dimensional space of the instances, in this case the points. The perceptron outputs a 1 for instances which are lying on one side of the hyperplane, and outputs -1 for instances which are lying on the other side. Okay, so which is being shown here. So now this is the hyperplane. Okay, which are lying on the other side, they are classified as a positive, and which are lying below it, they are classified as the negative. So the equation for this hyperplane is now w vector into x vector, which is equals to 0. Of course, there are some sets of positive and negative examples which cannot be separated by hyperplane. Such one example is, you can see this. Okay, so for example, if I draw a hyperplane like this, now if you see there is one positive but another positive is here, so we cannot correctly separate or classify with the hyperplane. Okay, so there are some will be there. So and those that cannot be those that can be separated are called as the linearly separable. Okay, this is an example of linearly separable, and this is an example of the non-linear separable. Okay, and this single perceptron can be used to we can use this the single perceptron to represent the many Boolean functions. Okay, so for example, if you assume Boolean values of 1 and -1, 1 is for true and -1 for false, then one way to use a 2-point perceptron is to implement the AND function. Okay, is to set the weights, for example W0 as a -0.8 and W1 equal to W2 as a 0.5. So and if you calculate this perceptron can be made to represent the OR function instead by altering just the threshold to W0 equals to -0.3. So regarding this, okay, I prepared one more the session, that is the 6th session. You can just go through it. There I have clearly explained. So now just quickly check the perceptron training rule. Okay, so since though we are interested in learning the networks of many interconnected units, so let us first begin by understanding how we can learn the weights for a single perceptron. So here the precise learning problem actually comes is to determine the weight vector. Okay, so that causes the perceptron to produce the correct plus or minus of one output for each of the given training examples. So various algorithms actually have been known to solve this problem. However, there are two major the solutions that can be considered in this case. One is called as a perceptron rule, and the other one is called as the delta rule. Okay, so these two algorithms are guaranteed to converge somewhat. We say different acceptable hypothesis under somewhat different conditions. They are more important to artificial neural networks because they provide the basis for learning networks of many inputs. Okay, so one way to learn the acceptable weight vector is to begin by the random weights. First you begin by the random weights, then iteratively apply the perceptron to each training example and modify the perceptron weights whenever it misclassifies an example. Start with a random, try to classify it, and if it misclassifies, then you can update it. Okay, so this process is actually repeated, iterating through the training examples as many times as needed until the perceptron it classifies all the training examples correctly. Okay, so weights are modified. So we can say the so the weights are modified at each step according to the perceptron training rule. So which revises the W weight associated with the input xi. Okay, so this is what it is. So the this we can say this is the perceptron rule. Wi is equals to Wi plus delta W, where delta Wi is nothing but eta of t minus O. So T is the target output and O is the output generated by the perceptron, and this eta is called as the learning rate. So actually the role of learning rate is to modify the role of learning rate is to moderate the degree to which the weights are changed at each step. So usually its value is between 0 and 1, and commonly we use 0.1. Okay, and sometimes it is made to decay as the number of weight tuning iteration increases. Right? So the learning procedure can be proven to converge within a finite number of applications of the learning procedure, and can be proven to converge within a finite number of applications of the perceptron training rule to a weight vector. Okay, so the training examples are linearly separable, and provided they are sufficiently small, eta value is used. Okay, and if suppose the data is not linearly separable, and the convergence we cannot assure, and it can fail to converge if the examples are not linearly separable. So this is because of this, since the problem of linearly separable and non-linearly separable, the another one is being designed. It is called as the delta rule. Okay, so although the perceptron rule finds a successful weight vector, okay, as we said, when the training examples are linearly separable, it might fail to converge if the examples are not linearly separable. So that is why delta rule is designed to overcome this difficulty. Okay, so this delta rule, what happens here is when they are not linearly separable, the delta rule converges towards a best fit approximation to the target concept. So the key idea behind the delta rule that it uses the gradient descent to search the hypothesis space of possible weight vectors to find the weights that best fit the training example. Okay, and this rule is important because this gradient descent is being used by the backpropagation algorithm. The delta training rule, it is actually best understood by considering the task of training an unthresholded perceptron, that is a linear unit for which the output O, we can write it as O of x vector equals to W vector into x vector. In order to derive this weight learning rule for unit, so let's begin by specifying a measure for the training error, the training error of a hypothesis for a weight vector, which is relative to the training examples. So although there are many ways to define this error, one common definition is given as E of W vector, which is almost equal to half of a summation of TD minus OD the whole square, where D belongs to the uppercase D, that is uppercase D. Big D is actually the set of training examples, TD is the target output for training example D, and OD is the output of the linear unit for training example D. Okay, so by this definition, E of W, okay, is vector is simply half the squared difference between the target output TD, right? So target output TD and the linear output OD summed over, okay, they summed over all training examples. Okay, so of course the E also depends on the particular set of training examples, but we assume that these are all fixed during the training. Okay, so we do not bother to write E as an explicit function of this, right? So now let's see actually how the hypothesis space looks like now. Okay, visualizing this hypothesis. Okay, so to actually understand the gradient descent algorithm, it is helpful for us to visualize the entire hypothesis space of possible weight vectors and their associated E values. Okay, which is shown now in the figure. The x-axis, that is the W0 and W1, represent the possible values for two weights of a simple linear unit. The W0 and W1 plane therefore represents the entire hypothesis space, and the vertical axis indicates the error E relative to the some fixed set of training example. The error surface shown, okay, figure, it summarizes the desirability of every weight vector in the hypothesis space. Given this way in which we choose to define E for the linear units and this linear units, this error surface must always, if you look at the diagram, it is a parabolic, okay, with a single global minimum. The specific parabola will of course will depend on the particular set of the training examples. So the gradient descent search, it determines a weight vector that minimizes E starting with an arbitrary initial weight vector, then it repeatedly modifies it in a small steps. At each step the weight vector is altered, okay, in the direction that produces the steepest descent along the error surface which is shown. Okay, so this process, it is continued until the global minimum error is reached. Okay, so actually, so these are two vector values are there. Okay, this is a plane and we have the error here. So your the searching starts from somewhere and, okay, it moves downwards wherein this error is actually minimized, that is, it is almost to zero. In that case, it chooses the weight values, the corresponding weight values W0 and W1. Okay, our idea is what, you have to choose the weights such that there is a error is being reduced. While doing that, you will get the error surface which is looks similar to a parabolic. Okay, so this is on the perceptron. Okay, in the next session we'll derive some of the equations that are required to update the weights. Okay, thank you.